Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Okay, can you still hear me, guys? I'm back. I think the recording is working on the mic as well. So just let me know if I'm coming through okay again. Would be appreciated. Yep, okay, great, guys. Who's here? Darren, Martin, Audrey, Omar, Silver, Clarence. Hope you guys are well and had a good weekend. So before I get into it, let's just have a little read of this, of what obviously happened over the weekend on why, and basically why we are seeing the gaps we are seeing. It's basically down to, where is it in this? Here we go. Putin putting nuclear armed forces on high alert. There was obviously the sanctions as well and the SWIFT stuff. But this is essentially why markets have gapped lower, because of this, worrisome. And I think a lot of people would have been burned, to be honest with you. A lot of people would have been burned on a Monday morning. I'm not sure, and I hope you guys aren't. But with these gaps, remember, this is the thing with it, is everybody always says, oh, you should close your positions on Friday. And do you know what? In some respect, doing that right now is not a bad call. I obviously stick to my plan 100%. But people who have been burned, and let me know if you guys have maybe had a bad trade, then if you lost a bit more money than you thought. But you always remember the bad ones, right? So this is 1 week that potentially that would happen throughout the year. It's not going to stop me from taking positions over the weekend because we've had a gap this week, if that makes sense. So, end of the stream, can you please look at CAD yen? And yeah, no problem, Omar, no worries. But this is also what I think is quite good headline or something for this morning is this. Markets are going to be swinging from headline to headline. Again, this is reminding me of that trade wars time where Trump would tweet or something new came out when I woke up every morning. Markets will be swinging. Now, that doesn't mean that we kind of take away all the technicals, but I do think it increases the importance, if you are in the trade, of taking money out of the market when it gives you, because we can see this volatility and it's probably going to continue until that dust settles. So at these point in times, it's very important, if you're making money, and again, if it fits your plan, and I certainly do think taking money off the table should always be part of somebody's trade management. But certainly in these conditions, it is important to take some money as things certainly will move from headline to headline. So in terms of gaps, now one of the things to remember with gaps is gaps usually like to be filled. Okay, now as we are in, and this is not, I mean, these are quite extensive gaps, to be fair. It's not something that we've seen for quite some time. If we see a gap in you know, a kind of roughly range, it would be like this, right? Where normally you'd expect it if we are coming maybe from a pullback, we gap down, we fill this gap and we continue with that trend. That's what you normally expect with these gaps. However, with what's going on right now, I don't really massively trust that. You know, I don't. I just, you know, with the extent of these gaps, if we kind of see price action come up, what's it going to look like? You know, potentially, you know, a V reversal back here for a possible continuation. Like I said, that those sanctions on SWIFT have been given as well to Russia. Now, this is a point, and this is certainly a market where I think you've just got to let this dust settle. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. I still kind of think we did have that slight pullback from potentially C wave here. I still kind of think this market rallies, and that is going opposite of what, you know, theory says within these gaps. I do think that, you know, so I would just be very wary of the extent we've had and the fact that we are pushing on right now. So I do expect with this SPX to come back here and fill this gap up here. Okay, and then the market will decide what it wants to do. But, you know, we still have some technical confluence here with our long trades in this XPX and in this index. Remember, we have had a very decent fall. You know, we can't forget that we have had a decent fall. I mean, look at that weekly bar. We cannot discount the technicals. So from a longer term perspective, you know, maybe the gap has given us our pullback within that weekly bar, within these large kind of catalysts that sometimes you get a pullback before movement back up to the upside. So again, talking it from a technical point of view, I'm just a little bit hesitant to go with the technicals on what you should do in terms of gap trading. Okay, because I just have a feeling that maybe this wants to rally because of what's happened, because of that technicals on the weekly. But in terms of trading it, I mean, there's gap traders, right, who see a gap, and usually people that are over Asia wait for that first hour to go, and then they buy this up into here and, you know, fill that gap, and that's a legitimate trading strategy. But in terms of gaps, yes, you'd expect most of the time, certainly on these higher time frames, we see the gaps on the 1 minute, 5 minutes, certainly around news times. That's different. But on these 4 hours, on these dailies, you'd expect these gaps to be filled. And then let's decide, because there's a lot of times where this does come and then pushes on from there. So that's what I'm thinking. Again, this I'm trading what I see, not what I think. But this is from a personal point of view of what I think may happen because of where we are on this weekly chart. So again, in terms of gaps, just because this has happened today, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop trading over the weekend. If you got burned, then obviously it's not great. But just be aware that this ain't going to happen, obviously, you know, a lot of times throughout the year, if any. You know, I haven't seen these gaps or these extensive gaps here. Let me look at this in the dollar. I can't even remember. I don't even know if I have seen these types of gaps before, personally, from a Forex perspective. So yeah, SPX, I'm still thinking movement to the upside because of that weekly chart. But let's see. Dollar, you know, it's kind of made a mess of these things. You know, dollar, again, you'd expect this to come down and fill this gap. You know, I know these are unprecedented times, but it's kind of hard to say on a Monday, guys. You know, I think today is a day where you just wait and see what happens today, come back tomorrow where potentially we look a little bit better, where the dust has settled before we think about what we're doing. You know, daily for me on the dollar, it still looks bullish. You know, it still does look bullish. Maybe, you know, increasing your time frames to look at the daily and look at the weekly, maybe the best bet here to get a better idea of what's happening within this market. But I'll look at that silver, but maybe we're just getting this initial basing structure for continuation to the upside. But again, I don't really want to give a particular bias on this dollar. I'm just going to say that I think this gap will be filled, and let's see what the market wants to do then. You know, let the market tell us. Let's not predict it. Let's let the market tell us what it wants to do. I think a lot of retail in days like today and obviously over the weekend will be massively hurting. You know, it's not a bad thing to say, I don't know what's happening here. You know, it's unprecedented times. Just to step away and say, let this, you know, let the dust settle. And I think that's possibly true for this dollar. So I'm going to sit myself firmly on the fence. Long term, daily charts, weekly charts say continuation to the upside in the dollar. The fundamentals would agree with that in terms of that safe haven, depending on what happens with that index. But I wouldn't be surprised if this came back down. Generally wouldn't. Okay, let's look at this Aussie yen 50-minute setup. Aussie yen. Let's have a quick look at the FinViz, actually. That might be interesting this morning. So we're getting pretty much risk off, right? Right now, which is probably what you'd expect. Again, I would wait until London opens before we really kind of go with that risk off sentiment. I mean, it is risk off, but I would wait till London open to see what happens. But certainly right now, USD strong, or not strong. Let's say strongest on the basket with the Euro, CAD, New Zealand, Aussie, all kind of weak. So right then, you know, it does indicate a bit of risk off. Okay, Aussie yen 15-minute. Set up on the gap. What do you mean, Silver? So buying it from here. A break out of this zone. I mean, you've got your kind of V reversal there, but I would have needed a bit more of a pullback. In which case, if you did get that, it would make sense. But I don't see the context. 83.14. 83.14. Breakout retest. Yeah, I don't see, for me, Silver, I don't see, for me, you know, if we're doing it from there, I mean, that's your structure, right? So we would need something more at this area to complete a potential head and shoulders or your cup with handle for me. So I would need this breakout retest movement to the upside. So right now, I mean, if you're looking at this as a potential head and shoulders, you've only got your left shoulder and your head. We haven't got our right shoulder yet. So the context for me there is not there. But do I think this comes up? Then, but they said, yeah, I mean, I agree. But remember, we've got to stick to our plan, Silver. You know, I have to, and this is what I believe. We just got to stick to our plan. And if the context is not there, how would you feel, basically, Silver, if this lost? Right. So how would you feel? You'd be annoyed with yourself, right? Because it doesn't fit your plan. Yeah. So that's something else you can think is, even though, yes, I think, you know, it would make sense to come up and fill the gap. You know, if you have a strategy that you back tested that works with maybe just potential breaker structures here up into the gap region, then yeah. But you've got to have the data on that. But again, if I even though I think this is going up, and it can happen with anything, you know, if this trade fails, you are going to be annoyed with yourself because you know that this doesn't fit the context that we want. Right? So again, think about the psychology. But in terms of Aussie yen to the upside, I mean, looks pretty good, right? Potentially, I mean, I agree with the bias, yeah. I agree with the bias. So yeah, so I know you can say the situation is not as usual. That's true, but we cannot control that. The only things that we can control is what we're doing on our charts. We can control our account. We can control the trades that we take. And just, you know, I don't want to compare the situation to a really kind of poor market, but, you know, in other weeks where it was a poor market, you just kind of trade less. You wait, you be more selective in what we're doing. And like I said, we can't control what's going on. We can control our emotions. We can control our account, and we can control our trades. So Aussie yen, I like the idea, but it's not something I could take, no. Okay, watch this today. Aussie Swiss is the first one. Obviously being affected by this gap, but we have broken through this area. So from this structure, we've broken through. If we get some bullish pressure here, that's okay. Still looking for a breakout properly and a retest back to this area. So if we do push on, I would consider this our break, potentially up to that 200, retest, movement to the upside on Aussie Swiss. Let's see what happens with that over the course of the next week or so. USD yen is still setting up. This looks pretty clean at the moment. We've got our V reversal back, pull back in our catalyst, which we are in for our aggressive strategy. I don't massively like it, but I'll put it in anyway. Looking to come up here, a bit of accumulation or another pullback for a breakout to the upside on USD yen. That's nice. That's nice. I mean, we've got our ABC here as well. ABC, outside bullish engulfer. Obviously, this particular bar here. Want another tag of the area, reload accumulation, breakout to the upside. USD yen. I like that. I like that. And a new one here, which is Euro pound. So we can see within my watch list, right? There's not much to look at. You know, not much to look at. 3 pairs on there. Aussie Swiss is not going to settle for some time. It just shows you that, you know, you need to be selective within this market. Remember, we're not trading for this month. We're trading for December. We're trading for the next couple of years. We always have to remind ourselves that you know, it's very easy to kind of say, well, I think this is going to go up because this is happening, but you know, you just got to stick to our rules. So Euro pound, head and shoulders here, pushing up. We've gapped down slightly, looking for our head and shoulders to be complete. Accumulation, 20 period catch up, break to the downside on Euro pound. That's so again, daily chart. Everything else is probably a bit messy on the smaller time frames, but yeah, potential head and shoulders there on Euro pound. Going with that longer term trend, I kind of like that. You know, I kind of like that. This bar here is not really taking, is it? This bar here on the weekly, we've not got any follow through from that. And, you know, we've been on that downtrend for quite some time. This is quite a significant zone. And if we do break through it from that daily, again, this is not extended. It's in a nice position where it's you know, ready to move. Yeah, absolutely for me. So Euro pound is probably my favorite there on those 3, on those 3 that we can look at, but need some time to develop. And that's really all she wrote, guys. I'll go into what was the questions here? Omar. Can you please look at CAD yen and Swiss yen for our daily and why you chose Aussie Swiss even though that 200 is getting in the way above? Yeah, so with this 200, Omar, this is a good question. When I can kind of be okay with taking it is if we get our orders filled from here. So if we do push on, right, we tag this 200 and we come back and retest, I would consider those 200 orders filled as long as we get our catalyst here. So that's a good question. That's the only kind of time I can have a little bit of leeway on this 200. If we come back here and we don't tag it, we move down and this 200 is in the way of 1-to-1, then yeah, we can't take it. But at the moment, I'm not, you know, we're just watching it at the moment. We want to see how it does develop because we could push through, right? We could push through and have a potential complex corrective. But I mean, this probably won't happen, but maybe you get an outside bullish engulfer here where we close above that 200, right? So breaking their stop loss underneath, which is fine. So we're just waiting to see how this develops. And if it develops how we like, then we take it. If it doesn't, then we just simply move on from it. So good question, though. Good question. CAD yen daily. Okay, let's have a look at the CAD yen on daily. And remember, guys, before I get to 28th of February, on this Friday, we'll be announcing the new winner of the 50K FTMO. So if you want to get involved, if you've entered before and you want to enter again, do so this week. Because we'll be announcing on Friday. You know, announcing on Friday. Okay, CAD yen daily. CAD yen daily. I mean, on Friday it looked pretty good, right? CAD yen. Could be this from this move, although you wouldn't really want this structure to be as large as it is. You know, there's an option there of where are we continuing within this channel. We obviously have gap down potentially. What I think with CAD yen is if we close like this is technically an inside bar, right? Which is bullish in nature, in theory. This is good. This is good, which would mean probably more so looking at movement to the upside. Now I know people wouldn't agree with me there because you're like, why are you looking at selling the yen right now? Purely, I'm not saying I'm looking at selling the yen, but it's purely from an SPX perspective where I have that hunch that possibly this corrective or this crash, let's say, from the situation is possibly over because we have moved down quite extensively. So depending on how today goes, maybe that would be my bias because we can't discount what we're seeing on this chart, which has developed for quite some time. We could be getting impulse, complex, corrective, push to the upside on CAD yen. In terms of an entry on that, B wave is obviously usually quite key. So B wave, I mean, depending, I would probably consider the most key area here, the closes. The 3 days there looks to be like the area that price is most respecting from B wave. This is maybe, you could take it from there as well, but for me, I'm looking at the blue area for moving to the upside. Let's have a look at the weekly. Weekly, I mean, the weekly's not very nice, but because in terms of a trending market, we've not broken these highs, right? So I mean, I wouldn't consider this a Dow theory trend change just yet because we need to break through these lows. This last week's bar is good. Back to that 20, I mean, from recent price action, have we seen it could be here for continuation? I would be more inclined to look at buying CAD yen, Omar, if I'm being honest with you. But but let's see. I think tomorrow is the day where we get a better idea of what we're doing. Swiss yen 4-hour daily. Swiss yen 4-hour daily. So Swiss yen, I was thinking about taking that trade. I think, did we have the order in? No, I don't think we had the order in. Anyway, we didn't take the trade. So Swiss yen 4-hour daily. Let's zoom out here. I mean, this is actually not bad. Look at this. That's actually hold on. Let me just look at this. I think I would take this from here because this is where it makes sense to me. A, B, C, for possibly this breakout to the downside, depending on what happens now, or depending on what happens today. I mean, which direction are you looking at? Going to buy. Which direction are you looking at Swiss yen? The thing about Swiss yen is, remember we talked about this B wave where, in terms of A, B, potentially C, we still are moving to the upside. But if this is B wave, we could come down a which bit, in which case that 4-hour breakout would have that confluence. That's actually not bad, Omar. That's actually not bad. Let's have a look at that. Oh, did I close down the bloody daily? Okay, so daily. The issue with the daily is this particular bar. If this didn't have, the kind of wicked area, which it does, it would look a lot bit better because it would be that kind of loss of momentum. But it's not something that's going to stop me taking a trade. Because if we do break through and we use this bar as an example, let's zoom in here. Okay, so if we zoom in on this particular bar, we're underneath that 61.8. I know for me, again, I talk about for me personally, that is as normally in terms of healthy trends, a line in the sand for trend continuation. But we do have this support zone as well. So this is quite a key area because, again, we often say is visualize what price action is going to look at if we do break through. And it certainly would look bearish. Again, going with our knowledge of complex pullbacks, that this does look like a potential loss of momentum. Now, at the moment, remember everything can change very quickly. But certainly the 4-hour is not, that's not bad. Omar, if we break above here in terms of our short bias, if we break above here, it's off. But if we come back down, we accumulate. I'm going to put that on my list, actually, Omar. Thanks for notifying. This is what's good about this group, because there's some things that I miss. I don't mind that. Oh, you're looking at buys? No, listen, Omar, this is the thing. This is just my personal opinion. Remember, I'm wrong many times as well. I'm right a few times, but I'm wrong as well. What we're trying to do is it's whatever you like to see, right? Everybody reads the market in a different particular way. And if you've got a strategy that your strategy and your entry criteria says buy the Swiss yen, then buy the Swiss yen. It matters nothing what I say. I'm just going with how I'm reading this particular chart. I just would be a bit worried about that weekly. You know, in terms of going long, I would be worried that this is coming into what we want to see. ABC potentially. I mean, we could fall off depending on what's happening. If things get worse, the yen will strengthen up and be the main beneficiary of hopefully that won't happen. But the yen, you know, the yen gold will be the main beneficiaries of things getting worse. Not worried about the long wicks to the upside. On Swiss yen, this one, these ones. Well, that's kind of helping with our bearish bias, right? Yeah, so these wicks are kind of helping with our bearish bias. You know, showing the market's trying to pushing up and it's kind of failing. It'll just be interesting what happens today. So today will be a day I think everybody should just be watching what happens. Come back tomorrow, see what happens with these gaps, let the dust settle a wee bit, and then go from there. But this is good. I mean, this is quite nice. Again, but if the SPX goes where we're kind of hunching it's going to go, you'd expect this to move to the upside, right? When the yen weakening off. But let's see. I mean, the moving averages are in a nice position here as well, right? We've got the 200 is dynamic, the 20 is dynamic. But let's see let's see what happens today. Let's see what happens today. Could you take a look at ETH on the short side? Yes, I can, Darren. Ethereum. I'll take a look at Bitcoin as well, because I think Bitcoin and ETH is coming into an area which I'm getting quite excited for. So ETH is short side. I agree with the bias right off the bat because of the trend that we are in. Let me just remove this so it's looks a little bit better. So we kind of come from here, I guess, retested, come back down. We didn't breach these highs on Ethereum like we did with remember Bitcoin. We kind of tagged or wicked above these previous highs. We haven't done that with ETH, so it's a little bit more clean. This, although saying that, this lower high within Dow theory is not confirmed until we break underneath these lows. So also the swing is not confirmed until we break underneath. I don't particularly like this bar. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of that bar. A decent rejection down there. However, it doesn't seem to be again taking to the upside. But there is the option of this, right? Are we going to get some bullish pressure in here, creating our head and shoulders for movement back to the upside? So, I mean, we're back to the 20. So what are you looking at? Better question, Darren, here. What are you looking for? So what are you seeing with this chart? Because right now it's a little bit messy for me, right, in terms of getting an entry. But saying that, this daily is not bad. If you're looking from here, recent price action, most recent price action, movement down, pull back to that 20, and there's your catalyst on a little bit of volume to move down. So in that regard, yeah, I don't think that's bad at all. You know, I wouldn't really consider this if we do come like this. I don't really like these wicks. I like to see the bodies come down. So potentially if we come down like this, it could be something for me, for movement to the downside. But in terms of the bias, I like it. I can't see. I mean, you could call this, I know we could look at this, but also this is certainly bearish price action. So that doesn't mean the right shoulder has to happen. You know, we could be falling off, you know, slight fake out to the upside, loss of momentum here, and now we're coming back down. So I do like the bias of ETH down, just purely because of that trend. I was looking at the hourly break below 2680 and retest. The hourly, so this area here. I presume, right? 2680. Oh, 2680. So you're looking here. Yeah. Again, Darren, if it fits your strategy, absolutely. Reason to enter. I don't think in terms of RTE, reason to enter, I don't think that's there just yet. If you get the market telling you wants to fall down with your engulfer, hammer, whatever, you know, if price comes back to this area then tells you wants to fall, yeah, that would make sense to me. You know, I wouldn't be selling it just yet. Again, I would be waiting for that RTE, the reason to enter on Ethereum to go to the short side. But yeah, I would rather be selling it than buying it, put it that way, on ETH. That makes sense, Darren? You know, you've got a slight. I mean, I think a better way to look at it would be a break underneath this area. To be honest with you, I think that's probably. I mean, you could look at this as head and shoulders, a V reversal, but not really a V reversal because this is too long in range. So I'd rather call this a head and shoulders for a breakout below this area retest. I think that's a safer option with what price is doing right now. I know it's not as good of a price, but I think it's a safer option for shorting ETH. Personally. Personally, yeah. I mean, has it retested? You could technically say. I mean, you could technically say it's already retested, right? Here. Creating that V reversal back. So it might not even get there. It might not even get up there again. Litecoin. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. Let's see what Bitcoin. We'll have a look at a bit of crypto before I hop off. Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin's quite similar, right? I can still see Bitcoin getting down to the 30K. I do. That's where I think it's going. You know, I do think it wants to come down to this area. You know, we've not broken through here. I can just see Bitcoin going down to 30K. That's what I would say. You know, irrespective of what I'm seeing, I'm not massively seeing anything unless we see this and it kind of breaks above here. Then maybe it might look a wee bit different on the chart. But I can just see Bitcoin getting down to 30K. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't mean like you're going down to 30 and that's it. Remember, we talked about oil. Like oil can't go up anymore. I mean, look at oil now. So it doesn't mean that it automatically it's going to have a floor at 30K. Anything can happen at that point in time. Litecoin daily down from here. Silver, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. Litecoin daily down. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. So it's hard to get that lots of money has been donated to Ukraine through crypto because they can't use cash. This may influence the price moving forward. I hate writing this, and forgive me if I am, but will the war push crypto up? Will the war push crypto up? I don't think so, Martin. And personally, I don't think so. The thing is, Martin, I've never been in this situation where this has happened. I don't think. I mean, nobody has, right? Technically, so you could well be right. You could well be right, but I don't think it would have as much volume as needed to really affect it. Yeah, I just don't think there'd be enough volume there pushing it up right now. Personally. But you could be right. I mean, you could be right, Martin. I mean, from a purely, again, I'll just go back to the technicals, as that's what I'm thinking is this comes down to 30 grand. That's what I think. But I could be wrong. So, I mean, it's hard to, like I said, I've never traded over something like this, and certainly now crypto is where it is now. Nobody has. You could well be right, Martin. You could not be right. I don't know. I think the easiest things right now is just to stick to your plan, stick to what you know, and let other people lose their money, let retail lose their money. I know you're just asking the question. You're not saying you're buying it or selling it. I understand that, but I don't think anyone could give you an honest answer of there's certainly a possibility. There's other ways to look at it and say no, I don't think that will happen. I don't think it will. But doesn't mean it can't. Doesn't mean it can't. We're in a new world, right? We're in a new world right now. And we just have to learn how it's going to flow. So. Right, anything else you guys want me to look at before I hop off? As I said, for me today, I ain't going to be trading. I will see the dust settle and come back tomorrow and see what happens, see what happens. Nothing fits the plan, yeah. I mean, that's it. Like I said, I mean, that's one of the biggest things you can take away from today is we cannot control what's going on. We can only stick to our plan. And it might just be quiet. It may be selective, but, that's just it. That's it. It's just a fact of it. Yeah, and there's another good saying: I'd rather be out the market wishing I was in than in the market wishing I was out. Think about how many people will be hurting today because of those gaps. Master Ryan, not a master at all. I've just been so bad for so long that I kind of know that basically when to stay out. It's such a big thing. Being able to stay out the market is a big skill and something you shouldn't take for granted at all. Certainly, if you can do it, and pat yourself on the back if you used to be over trading and now you're not. That's one of my biggest problems was over trading. You know, such a big problem I had with over trading, and yeah, less is more. No pain, no gain. Yeah, no pain, no gain. Right, guys, have a lovely day. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be around Discord today. I'll be trying to edit my vlog as well. I'm pretty sure that'll come out tomorrow. I'll speak a little bit about Glenn tomorrow as well. Unfortunately, I'll speak about that tomorrow morning as well. But Andrew should be on a little bit later in the afternoon. He's probably a better person to ask for your fundamental questions than me. But my best piece of advice: let the dust settle. Let other people lose their money, not us. All right, guys. Omar, I'll just let you type. No worries, buddy. Right, thanks, guys. Have a great day. Have a good Monday, and I'll see you all in the morning. Peace.